So usually when a car starts making a weird noise, you don't just sit there in the driver's seat and like, guess what's wrong with it?
Right. No, you'd look at the dashboard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You check for the check engine light or, I don't know, the temperature gauge, the tire pressure warnings. It's a machine. So you expect clear, objective readouts to tell you exactly what is happening under the hood.
Yeah, it completely takes the guesswork out of the equation. I mean, you have the system of sensors constantly monitoring a baseline, and the second something drifts out of alignment, the dashboard just tells you.
Right. You aren't operating on a feeling. You're operating on hard data.
Exactly.
But then, you step into the world of human relationships and suddenly that dashboard just completely vanishes.
Oh, entirely. It's gone.
You are entirely reliant on guessing. Like, you walk into the kitchen, your partner gives you a weird look, and you're instantly left wondering, wait, are they mad at me? Did they just sleep terribly? Are they stressed about work?
Yeah, we are navigating our most important emotional connections completely blind to the actual physiological state of the person standing right in front of us.
Right. And that is exactly why today's deep dive is so fascinating. Welcome, everyone, to today's deep dive. We are looking at a fundamental shift in how we understand intimacy.
It really is a massive paradigm shift.
It is. Today, we're exploring this new wave of predictive AI wearables. Specifically, we're focusing on the Oxyzen wellness ring and the broader ecosystem of couples health tracking.
Which is a huge market right now.
Massive. And we are moving way beyond just counting your steps or like closing your activity rings. We're talking about devices that analyze your biological data to physically map, measure, and actually improve the emotional intimacy and shared wellness between partners.
Right, because what's happening here is a transition from individual passive data logging to what is essentially biosynchronized couple wellness.
Biosynchronized couple wellness. That sounds intense.
Yeah.
It does, but think about it. For years, your wearable just talked to you. Your heart rate, your sleep, all isolated in a silo.
Just my own personal little data bubble.
Exactly. But now the focus is shifting to the physiological delta between two people. We're finding that understanding how your biological rhythms interact with your partner's rhythms might actually be the key to a much deeper, more resilient connection.
It is just wild to think about. I mean, for you listening, imagine using wearable tech to literally take the guesswork out of a partner's mood or energy levels, like a literal dashboard for relationship harmony.
It is. It really is the definition of flying with instruments instead of flying blind. For thousands of years, emotional intimacy has relied almost entirely on subjective communication and behavioral cues.
Which are famously reliable.
Right, exactly. I mean, let's be honest, those cues are notoriously easy to misinterpret. A sigh of pure exhaustion can sound exactly like a sigh of deep frustration.
Oh, 100%. But before we get into how two people sync up their biology, I think we need to unpack the underlying hardware and the AI that actually makes this high-fidelity tracking possible.
Yeah, the tech is really the foundation here.
Because if you look at the landscape right now, you've got major players like Aura, which relies on a readiness score, which heavily weights heart rate variability, resting heart rate, and body temperature.
Right.
And then you have Whoop, which prioritizes a strain metric to basically tell you how hard you pushed yourself that day.
And those are highly effective metrics, don't get me wrong. But if you look closely at how they function, they are fundamentally reactive.
Reactive meaning they just look at the past.
Exactly. They measure what your body has already experienced and how it is recovering from that past event. But Oxyzen and the new generation of rings kind of following its lead approaches this totally differently.
How so?
It positions itself as a proactive health coach by utilizing predictive AI. The real game changer here is the deep integration of continuous blood oxygen data. Your SpO2 levels running continuously alongside your heart rate variability.
Okay, wait, let's pause and actually explain the mechanics here, because I think a lot of people see HRV on their fitness app and just pretend they know what it means.
Oh, absolutely. It's a buzzword.
Yeah. So heart rate variability is literally the measure of the time variation between your individual heartbeats, right? It's a massive indicator of how your nervous system is handling stress.
Yes, and the why behind it is really fascinating. It all comes down to your autonomic nervous system, specifically the push and pull between the sympathetic system,
Which is your fight or flight response, right?
Exactly, the fight or flight, and the parasympathetic system, which is your rest and digest mode.
Okay.
So when you inhale, your heart rate actually speeds up slightly. When you exhale, the vagus nerve applies the brakes and your heart rate slows down.
Oh, wow. Just from breathing.
Just from breathing. That constant speeding up and slowing down means your heart rate is highly variable, and that is a good thing. It means your nervous system is relaxed, it's adaptable, and it's responsive.
Right, but when you get stressed or say you're fighting off a bug, that variability drops.
Precisely. Because when your body is under threat, either psychologically from, say, a bad day at work or biologically from a virus, the sympathetic nervous system just takes over.
It just floors the gas pedal.
It floors the gas pedal. The vagus nerve stops applying the brakes and your heart starts beating like a metronome. The variation completely vanishes.
Wow.
Now, when you combine that continuous HRV monitoring with blood oxygen tracking, you get magic.
Okay, but how does a little ring on your finger actually measure the oxygen inside your blood anyway? Like, I get how a blood draw works, but a ring.
Right, it seems like sci-fi. It uses optical sensors, specifically red and infrared LEDs. The ring literally shines light into the capillaries in your finger.
Oh.
Yeah, and oxygenated blood absorbs infrared light and lets red light pass through. Deoxygenated blood does the exact opposite. So, by constantly measuring the ratio of light bouncing back, the ring knows exactly how saturated your blood is.
So the predictive AI is looking at both of these metrics, the HRV and the SpO2, simultaneously.
Yes, exactly. When your body starts fighting off a systemic stressor or like an impending illness, it diverts resources. One of the earliest, most microscopic signs of this is a tiny dip in blood oxygen paired with a narrowing of your HRV.
And you wouldn't feel that at all.
Not at all. What Oxyzen's predictive AI does is identify these subtle, simultaneous shifts to anticipate your recovery needs before you even consciously feel a sore throat or fatigue.
So it's looking ahead.
Right. It identifies the biological trend lines before they cross the threshold into conscious symptoms.
Man, that is wild. It sounds like Aura give you a highly detailed report card on how your body did yesterday, whereas Oxyzen acts like a weather forecast, warning you that a biological storm is coming.
That is the perfect way to look at it. It's anticipating the storm based on barometric pressure rather than just telling you, oh, hey, it rained.
But to get that forecast, you have to wear the hardware 24/7. And there are obvious pros and cons to these AI wellness rings.
Oh, definitely. It's a commitment.
Yeah, I mean, the discrete design is a massive plus. No one wants a glowing, vibrating brick on their wrist at 3 a.m.
Nobody.
But the cons are real. You have subscription fees to access the deepest insights, and fit sensitivity is a huge issue.
Yeah, the fit is critical. If the ring rotates even a little or doesn't fit perfectly flush against the skin, the optical sensors just misread the data.
Right. Plus, there's no display screen on the ring itself.
Oh.
You are entirely reliant on checking an app on your phone. Which, wait, hold on. I have to wonder about this.
What's that?
Does relying on an AI app to tell me I'm exhausted override my own natural intuition? Aren't we just outsourcing our body awareness to a piece of silicon?
That is a really common fear, this idea that we are going to somehow lose touch with ourselves. But the screenless design of these rings is actually a deliberate engineering choice to prevent exactly what you are worried about.
Really? How so?
Well, think about smartwatches. They trigger this obsessive neurotic wrist glancing. You feel a vibration, you check a number, you become addicted to the immediate feedback.
Yeah, I am totally guilty of that.
We all are. By removing the screen, the ring forces the AI to work silently in the background. It takes raw, imperceptible data, like a 1% drop in your blood oxygen, and translates it into meaningful baseline shifts that you review later.
So how does that build intuition instead of, replacing it?
Because over time, pattern recognition kicks in. You wake up feeling just a tiny bit sluggish, right? A feeling you might normally ignore or push through with caffeine.
Oh, the standard morning routine.
Exactly. But then you check your daily forecast and see the AI flagged a drop in your overnight HRV and SpO2. You start to actively associate that subtle physical feeling of fatigue with the objective biological data.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it actually calibrates your internal intuition. You start listening to those whispers from your body because the technology has validated that they are real.
Okay, that makes total sense. It's kind of like having a tuner for a guitar.
Yes, perfect analogy.
Right. When you first start playing, you rely entirely on the digital tuner to know if you're on pitch. But after a year, you start to just hear when the string is slightly flat without needing to look at the screen. The tool trained your ear.
Precisely. It calibrates the instrument.
Okay, so having established how this predictive AI acts as an individual biological weather forecast, here's where we cross the bridge into the really fascinating stuff for our deep dive.
The relationship side of things.
Exactly. What happens when you combine your weather forecast with your partner's? How do two completely distinct streams of physiological data interact in the same room?
So this brings us to a concept in the research called sleep co-regulation. Essentially, platforms are now measuring how well your physiological signals, so your heart rate, your breathing patterns, and your sleep stages align with your partners while you are in bed together.
Sleep co-regulation. I mean, it sounds so clinical, but the implications are incredibly emotional. The science of physical synchrony shows that when partners enter deep sleep, or REM sleep, at similar times, and when their bodies are responding to the bedroom environment in the same restful way, it strongly correlates with emotional closeness.
It does. It really does. Think of it like two pendulum clocks placed on the same wooden wall.
Okay.
So in 1665, a physicist named Christian Huygens noticed that if you put two clocks on a wall, regardless of how they started, their pendulums would eventually swing in perfect synchrony.
Wait, really? Just by being on the same wall?
Yes. The tiny microscopic vibrations traveling through the wood force them into a shared rhythm, and human nervous systems do something remarkably similar.
That is wild.
When you sleep next to someone, your breathing, your heart rate, your subtle movements act like those vibrations. Your nervous systems are essentially communicating in the dark.
That is a brilliant way to picture the pendulum syncing up. But how does the ring actually know if our pendulums are swinging together? Like, how does a piece of metal on my finger know I'm in REM sleep to even compare it to my partner?
It uses chronotype analysis by combining movement data from a tiny internal accelerometer with your heart rate patterns. See, REM sleep, which is the phase where you dream, is characterized by something called muscle atonia. Your brain essentially paralyzes your major muscle groups so you don't physically act out your dreams.
Which is terrifying but useful.
Right, very useful. But while your body is perfectly still, your brain is highly active, causing your heart rate to become erratic. So the ring senses zero physical movement, but a highly variable, erratic pulse. Boom, it knows you were in REM.
And deep sleep is different.
Yeah. Deep sleep, on the other hand, features a very steady, very low heart rate. So by charting these phases all night, the algorithm definitively maps your biological clock.
It objectively proves who is the morning lark and who is the night owl, which, let's be honest, settles about 50% of cohabitation arguments right there.
It really does. It takes the moral judgment completely out of it. But researchers are taking it a step further. They are comparing the objective data from the wearable, the actual alignment of your sleep stages, with the subjective data from the couple.
Subjective data meaning, like, asking them how they feel.
Exactly. They are looking at what the ring says about your nervous system synchrony versus how the couple reports feeling about their relationship bond the next morning.
Wait, but if you need a spreadsheet to figure out if you and your partner are bonding, I mean, doesn't that completely kill the romance? It feels incredibly mechanical to quantify intimacy like that.
It might feel mechanical, yeah, but subjective feelings are incredibly fickle. You might wake up feeling disconnected from your partner simply because you had a stressful dream, or, you're worried about a presentation at work.
Oh, totally. You wake up on the wrong side of the bed.
Right. Your subjective brain says, we are distant today. But the data might show that your heart rates dipped into a resting state simultaneously, and you matched REM cycles perfectly.
So your bodies were perfectly in sync, even if your mood was off.
Yes. The data reveals that you are actually deeply co-regulating at a biological level, providing this hidden foundation of support. The numbers don't replace the romance. They reveal the invisible architecture supporting it.
That is amazing.
When two nervous systems regulate together, it builds a subconscious resilience that your conscious mind isn't always aware of.
So it's proof that your bodies are working together, even if your brains are distracted by the stress of the day.
Exactly. It's a biological safety net.
But knowing that your REM cycles are aligned doesn't actually help you if your partner's alarm goes off an hour before yours and just ruins your morning.
The dreaded early alarm.
So how does this tech actually change behavior in the bedroom? How do people use this shared data day to day without it feeling like they're living in a surveillance state?
This is where we get into the practical architecture of shared wellness. The most immediate impact is on behavior. When couples share this data, they stop arguing about habits as character flaws.
Oh, that's huge.
It is. If the AI definitively shows your partner's core body temperature and HRV indicate they are biologically a night owl, you stop taking it personally when they don't want to go to bed at 9 p.m. You negotiate a middle ground based on hard biological reality.
And the tracking of co-sleeping is huge, too. You can finally prove that a partner's tossing and turning is literally destroying your deep sleep.
The vindication.
Right. You can look at the timeline and see the exact minute their physical movement spiked and watch your own heart rate variability plummet in response.
And that data leads to actionable solutions. One of the most praised features in this new wave of wearables is the smart alarm.
Oh, I've heard about this.
It's brilliant. Instead of a blaring audio alarm that jolts both people out of bed in absolute panic, the Ring uses a silent haptic vibration on the wrist. But more importantly, it wakes you during your optimal light sleep stage.
Because it knows you're in light sleep due to the slight movement and higher heart rate, like you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. It waits for the perfect biological window within your alarm time frame, gently vibrates to wake you up, and leaves your partner completely undisturbed in their deep sleep cycle.
I am calling it right now. The smart alarm is the single greatest marriage-saving technology ever invented.
This might be.
Because the trauma of someone else's loud early morning alarm is universally despised. But beyond just waking up peacefully, sharing this data fosters what is being called actionable empathy.
Yes, moving from guessing to knowing. Think about it. If I check the shared dashboard and see that your predictive readiness is completely in the gutter, maybe your SpO2 dipped and your HRV is flatlining, I'm not going to ask you to go to a crowded, loud restaurant that night.
Right, you'd pivot.
I'll suggest we order takeout and watch a movie. I'm extending empathy based on your actual biological state before you even have to explain that you're tired.
It's beautiful in theory. Really,
Yeah.
it is. But we have to talk about the massive elephant in the room.
Let me guess. Data governance and privacy.
Oh, absolutely. Sharing highly personal, granular physiological data introduces some incredibly complex dynamics.
It's a minefield.
Now, platforms like Oxyzen handle this through specific privacy protocols. You have granular sharing, meaning you can choose to let your partner see your overarching readiness score, but absolutely hide your exact heart rate or sleep times.
Right.
You have consent-based access, requiring mutual invitations, and you have revocable permissions, meaning you can cut off the data feed at any time.
And these protocols are paramount. They really are. But they don't solve the underlying human psychology.
Right. What happens when one partner wants total data transparency? They say, hey, let's share everything so we can completely optimize our relationship. But the other partner feels suffocated and wants to keep their health metrics totally private. Does granular sharing actually fix that? Or does it just create a brand new argument? Like, why are you hiding your sleep data from me?
It is the most profound ethical question in the space of the quantified relationship right now. The ultimate goal of a shared wellness architecture isn't and shouldn't be total transparency.
It shouldn't be.
No, because total biological transparency can very quickly devolve into surveillance, anxiety, and a feeling of being perpetually monitored by the person you love.
It becomes a biological panopticon in your own house.
Precisely, a panopticon. The true goal of the technology is targeted empathy. The platforms are designing these privacy protocols to give partners just enough abstracted data, like a simple red, yellow, or green readiness indicator, to support each other without compromising individual bodily autonomy.
But if someone still demands the raw data, like, I want to see your actual heart rate from last night.
Then the wearable hasn't created a new problem. It has just illuminated an existing communication and trust issue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if one partner views the restriction of heart rate data as a betrayal, the technology is forcing a necessary conversation about boundaries and control that was probably already simmering under the surface. The wearable is just the catalyst.
That is so true. The technology just acts as a mirror, reflecting the trust dynamics of the relationship right back at the couple.
Exactly.
So, looking at the big picture, we have covered a massive amount of ground today for you all. We started by looking at how the new generation of hardware, like the Oxyzen Ring, uses optical sensors and predictive AI to move way past simple step counters.
Right, moving into the proactive space.
We learned how tracking the precise interplay between blood oxygen and heart rate variability acts as a biological weather forecast.
And then we moved into the invisible dynamics of the bedroom. The whole concept of sleep co-regulation, where human nervous systems act like pendulum clocks on a wall, slowly syncing up their rhythms through the night.
Yeah, that pendulum visual is going to stick with me. We saw how that physical synchrony builds the subconscious foundation for emotional closeness, even when our conscious minds are, totally distracted.
Which is incredibly reassuring, honestly.
It is. And finally, we explored how sharing that data creates actionable empathy, using smart alarms to protect each other's sleep cycles and adjusting our expectations based on our partner's biological reality, all while trying to navigate the incredibly tricky psychological waters of privacy and bodily autonomy.
It really represents a remarkable leap forward in how we understand human connection. I mean, for the entirety of human history, the physical tethers that bind two people together have been invisible. Now we are making them visible, measurable, and ultimately actionable.
So as you go about the rest of your day, I want you to think about your own biological rhythms. Are you naturally a morning lark, forcing yourself to stay up late to match a partner, or, a night owl struggling through early morning routines?
It's worth considering.
And more importantly, how are your invisible physiological rhythms clashing or beautifully syncing with the people you share a living space with? Are your nervous systems playing a harmonious duet, or are your pendulums swinging wildly out of sync?
And I'll leave you with one final thought to ponder. We've established that these AI wearables can accurately anticipate when an individual is about to experience physical stress, entirely based on subtle shifts in SpO2 and HRV, long before they consciously feel the fatigue. And we now know that couples are syncing this exact data to map their co-regulation. So if an AI can predict your individual stress levels days in advance, how long until these devices start predicting relationship arguments before they happen, purely based on the mathematical crossing of two partners' physiological baselines?
That is an incredible and honestly slightly terrifying thought.
I know, right?
It brings us right back to the dashboard analogy we started with. Just imagine opening your app on a Tuesday afternoon and seeing a flashing warning light. Caution. High probability of interpersonal conflict in the next 4 hours. Both partners' nervous systems are critically depleted.
It would definitely change how you greet them at the door.
It really would be the ultimate check engine light for your marriage.